Hi, I'm Jane. I'm the Cornish Knitter. Welcome to my channel. On my last video, I shared something about some of the challenges that I was facing, and some people wrote to me or commented about the fact that they thought that I chose money over family and that I shouldn't complain or moan about it now. So that really stung. So I wanted to share the truth, not just for me, but for anyone else out there that's felt judged. And I'm going to be sharing my latest knits and what I've been up to in my knitting and crochet world too. So join me for this video. So hello and welcome. It's just stopped raining here in Falmouth in Cornwall. I'm Jane, I'm the Cornish Knitter. As everybody always says at the beginning of these videos, if you enjoy what you hear, please do like, comment and subscribe and share with others, because I want to grow this tribe of women of a similar age to me who really love their knitting and crochet, but are also sort of facing some choices and changes that are happening in their lives. And I try and just be authentic and genuine about how that affects me. And I know it strikes a chord with a lot of you too. But yeah, so it's nearly Easter here in the UK. As I said, I live in Falmouth in Cornwall. The sun has come back out this afternoon. We've had some beautiful weather. So we've been basking in some glorious sunshine, which has felt unusual. But also it's enabled people to sort of get out and about, meet up with people. A lot of the schools have broken up for the school holidays for Easter. So it's been lovely for families and children to be out and about. It's been really good for traders on the beaches because people have been obviously out on sort of the outdoor spaces buying drinks and things. So that's lovely to see. Today, the weather's changed a little bit, and an apology because I might sound a little breathless at times, but I suffer a little bit with asthma and certainly with hay fever. And apparently today there is a pollen bomb, not a term I've heard before, which means that there's an awful lot of pollen around and it's really affecting my breathing today. So excuse me, I apologise in advance. But how lovely that spring feels like it's here. The days have got longer, means that I can knit in daylight for longer, or sew or make or whatever I'm going to do. And I wanted to share I have been sort of working on some projects, trying to stick to my mantra of only knitting for work during the day, and then in the evenings making for myself and enjoying what I'm making, and still practicing that saying no too. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on in my video. So if you're interested in sort of my thoughts of what I shared last time and some of the responses, please keep watching and I'll pop a little bit in about that a bit later. But thank you so much for all the comments that people sent. It seems that I struck a chord with so many people, and I know it's not just me from talking to friends. So I'm really glad that lots of people felt it was relevant and it was helpful. I just think these things should be aired. And as I said before, this is my perspective. It might not be shared by everybody, and that's fine. But anyway, let's talk a little knitting, shall we? Because I have been busy. So you can see I'm wearing a tiny little shawlette, I'm going to call it. So this is the Sea Breeze shawlette. It's a new pattern that we have up on our website. So we've got the pattern as a digital PDF, and also a few kits, and I'll show you the colours that we've got them in as well. So this little shawlette was designed, I'll show you it in another colour because I can show you the design without faffing around taking mine off. So it is a classic triangular shawl. You start at one tip, and it's just got a very simple eyelet pattern. It's every 8 rows. I should know this. I've knitted 3 of them now. You increase over the 8 row pattern, you increase 2 stitches each set of 8 rows. So it's a gentle little point. And I really just like well, I've knitted it in Exquisite yarn, which is a 4-ply yarn, which has 20% mulberry silk in it. And that's what we popped on our website too. But it's given it a really nice drape, a nice silky look. It's nice and light, but just warm enough to have around your neck, just when the weather feels a bit colder or cooler still at this time of year. So I still get sort of cool around my neck, but I also think into summer it would look really nice just over a white t-shirt. It's knitted up in a 4-ply yarn on 4mm needles. No, I'm saying that, I think it's 3.5mm needles. Again, I should know, shouldn't I? So 3.5mm needles. It's a super quick, super easy knit. It's a great little project for some, maybe for Easter, just to knit up one. It's taken me 3 nights to knit just one of these. Very memorable pattern. So it's a really nice one to take out and about when you're knitting. But I just think that it looks really nice. I've got it in, I'm just finishing it off in this cream colour here, because cream is quite nice. This one needs to be blocked, obviously. I'm very near the end. I've slipped it onto here because we were photographing it for the pattern for the shop. So I'm very, very close to finishing it. On this one, I am quite tempted, because it is cream, is to add a crochet edging to it. So I'm quite tempted to pick up, not quite decided what I'm going to do yet, whether I do a sort of picot edging or a little sort of, I don't know, scalloped edging, or even a crab stitch or something. We've called it the Sea Breeze shawlette, Sea Breeze shawlette. This has taken, so I very nearly finished mine, and I had 100 gram skein of 4-ply. I think I've probably got 40 grams left. Admittedly, I'm going to do a little scalloped edge. So, you know, easily achieved out of a regular 4-ply 100 gram skein. So if you've got one of those special skeins that you want to do something with, this might be a pattern that you really like. You don't have to wear it the way I'm doing, with the point at the front. I've just been talking to Nish in the shop. He's like uber trendy. So she started putting it on all sorts of different ways. I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought that way. So she put it on to the side, with one side sort of hanging down like that. What else did she do? Oh, this is going to probably look awful on me because I don't do hats, as I've mentioned many times. But she actually put it over her hair and sort of did it, no, not like that. She did it like that as a scarf. So she wore it as a scarf on her hair. It looks dreadful on me. Flattened my hair too. God, my hair is so thick. I haven't got thick hair, that's a lie. I have very fine hair. I have just got tons of it. And I know whenever I go to the hairdresser, she's like, you have just got so much hair. It takes ages to cut it, and it stays wet for ages because it just clings to it all. So I find, and I've got quite a bit of curl in my hair, so I do find when they just cut it in like this, it's the easiest to look after, because then I can just put some wax in it and just shape it. Yes, so going back to the shawlette. So yeah, it's a super simple little pattern. I'll put the green one on just to show you. And quite like the green on me, but then I'm a green sort of person. But probably the pink is the one that suits my skin tone the best. But yeah, sort of super sweet little pattern. Perfect for spring, perfect for summer. And just a perfect, quick and easy knit. So yeah, Sea Breeze shawlette. We have written the pattern, it's an in-house pattern. It will be online as a PDF download, and we've also put together kits of all 3 colours as well in this beautiful exquisite yarn for anybody that's interested in knitting it up in that. So that's one thing that I've been working on and finished. The other is our sock club. So I've mentioned Sock Club before. We run a bi-monthly sock subscription club where we sort of introduce people to different yarns. We design our own in-house patterns, which we don't market anywhere else until they've been out for some time. And we work with mainly independent businesses who are either local dyers or local yarn suppliers to produce the yarn. And we always pop in a Cornish gift. Well, the last one went out at the end of May. And what went in the box, and I am just looking around thinking, what have I done with it? Give me a moment. I'm back. So they got this beautiful yarn dyed up by a local dyer called Steph at Peperomia Yarns. So this is a 70% superwash merino, 20% yak, 10% nylon. This colourway was specifically dyed for us. So the sock inspiration was called Drift and Tangle. And it was the thought around the fishing nets and the deep sea and the fishermen going out to sea with their nets. So this was meant to evoke the colours of the deep sea. So it's a beautiful, I don't know how well that colour, we have got a few skeins in the shop, and in the future we will be putting together some of the sock boxes, but it won't be for a while. So that's what they get. And then in the Sock Club we always do little hand-drawn sort of guides on how to do this, and we always put in a gift from Cornwall. This time, just going with our theme, we popped in some Cornish sea salt crystals, Cornish, you know, we live in Cornwall is surrounded by the sea naturally, and we live in a place where it's, you know, it's a natural resource to be able to sort of mine, and the Cornish Sea Salt Company is a really lovely local business that produces some lovely flavoured salts. So that's what they've got in their box. But this time we wanted to do a pattern that had some cables in it. So this was the pattern that we came up with. I'm going to show you it front on because I think you get a better view of it. So this stitch here, bring it up nice and close, it's called the cross 4 stitch, and you use 2 cable needles. Bit fiddly, but we wanted to depict how the nets would look. And then these cables, which is just a simple 2x2 cable on the side, are to depict the ropes that are sort of holding the nets down. So this was our sock. It's a traditional top down. We used a pearl 2 knit one through the back of the loop because we wanted those to sort of run into the pattern. And then it's a heel flap and gusset, normal traditional heel flap and gusset, and just a basic wedge toe. But these socks are beautiful, aren't they? But in our sock club, you know, we have some really experienced sock knitters, but we also have some people that are fairly new to sock knitting. So whenever we do the socks, if there's one that's I think is going to be a bit complicated for people, I always try and make sure that we design a simpler version too. So the simpler one is very similar, so still got a cable, and obviously I do lots of video support and everything in Sock Club so that people learn how to do these techniques, so they're not alone when they do them. But this time we just kept this front panel simple and sort of made it look like the ladders. I hope you can see that. But you can see that beautiful colour of that yarn as well. Exactly the same design, but I just thought I'd share these with you because I think these are my favourite ones that we've done so far. Such beautiful socks, such a beautiful colour. I was so enjoyed knitting these, and they feel so soft. So I just couldn't resist showing you them. And in the future we will release the pattern, and we will release sock boxes that go along with this. But for the moment they're only available to our Sock Club members. And if you are interested in that, there are links below in the description, and I think we reopen for membership next month. So do go on there and sign up if you're interested. So the other thing that I was knitting, and I'm going to have to look up what this is called because I always forget it, and I don't know why, is called, why is it that it always just disappears? So it's called the Peperomia Cowl by Sonia Bargilowska, who's part of John Arbon now. So that's what her pattern looks like. I hope you can tell there. Now, if you look at it on Sonia, you can see that it sort of sits over her shoulders. Here it is. So I finished it. I'm going to show you it here. So it's sort of on the bias, and it's sort of got a rib design in 4 places, which is sort of the stabilizers, and then you've got these biased bits here. Now on her design, as I said, she wears it over her shoulders. I'm not specifically a tight knitter, but I can't get it to do that. I'm just looking, yeah, she's got the ribby bit. Excuse, I'm going to muck up my hair again now. Ooh. So that's the cowl. And whilst I love the design, I don't think in a month of Sundays I could get it. Oh, maybe. As I get older, can't reach around the back as easily either. You need somebody to help you on with your clothes. Yeah, I think it's a stretch, don't you, to get that over my shoulders. I love it. I love the shape of it. I love the colour of it. It's knitted up in John Arbon yarn. I'm just going to look what yarn is. It was Aran yarn. It was a return of the squish. It's a limited edition one, but you could knit it in any worsted or Aran yarn, I think. I love this colour on me. It's quite a high cowl, as you can see. I think you could actually turn it over like that and have a nice effect, but there's no way. Try again, not to be defeated. I just don't see me being able to wear it over my, maybe that's how she's got it on her body, but it would soon ride up. But yeah, a really lovely knit. Really enjoyed knitting this. Again, I could see me getting an awful lot of wear out of this cowl in the winter, probably not this time, but a really nice fit underneath, you know, a jacket, or even underneath a cardigan if you wanted something as well. So really happy with that, and I really enjoyed the knit. So I would recommend giving it a go. Anyway, so those are the things that I've actually finished. I popped in a little video because I was sat out sort of doing some of my dedicated me time, and I'm going to now share a bit of a video where I reflect on what I said last time, but also some of the comments that I received. You know, I just said that it was my perspective, and just most of you had lovely comments, but some people, and particularly women, can judge other women, and I don't like to judge other women. We all make choices based on our circumstances. So I just wanted to explain a little bit more about that on here, but I didn't want the whole video to be about it. So watch along now, and I'll rejoin you again and show you some of the other things that I'm working on, my works in progress, and a little bit of an update. Hi, I've just brought my knitting out. The sun's out. It's a lovely day, a bit windy, so hopefully you can hear me okay. As you know, my last couple of videos I've talked about that process of getting older, and the needing to, or recognising the need to slow down a bit, say no a bit more often, and probably let go of some things that are not bringing me much joy in my life, and trying to find the balance really. And I hope I said in my previous videos that that really is my perspective of my life, and of talking to numerous friends who are of a similar age to me. And I talked about the sort of what I felt was a generational pressure on women of my age group particularly to be financially independent, as well as sort of good homemakers and good wives and good friends and everything else. And it seemed it resonated with so many of you, and thank you for all the wonderful comments I had. Far too many to mention, and I do always try and go back to people, and it seems that there were an awful lot of women who were of a similar age group or approaching that age group, or even had experiences to share from having gone through that sort of transition from sort of working hard into retirement. And obviously for somebody that has worked all of their lives, it's all about the thoughts about changes of identity and purpose. And yeah, it's just, you know, I'm trying to be firmer with myself about saying no. And I think a lot of you commented on, you know, it comes with practice and you still can feel weird saying that word no. But I think a lot of you sort of said just defer a little bit so that you give yourself some space before you say no. And just, I talked to she's a coach, trauma coach the other day, a lady called Mary, and I did an interview with her for the flock, and she was saying that a tip that she was given was this piece of paper, and on one side you write yes and on the other side you write no. And she said when you say either yes or no and you hold it up facing outwards, you see the reflection on the other side of the paper. So if you say yes to something, reflect on what you're saying no to when you're looking at it, and then on the flip side, if you say no to something, you've got yes facing you, and think, actually, what have I just said yes to? Is that giving me permission to do something? And I just thought that was a great tip, even if you do it metaphorically in your head. You know, you're not going to walk around with a piece of paper that when you say no, you're going to hold it up. But I just thought that was a great sort of way of thinking about it. You know, just saying no means that I'm saying yes to something for me, and that's okay. You know, I don't need to feel guilty about that. So yeah, I'm learning lots of tips along the way, and thank you so much for all the great things that you've said. I know many of you are still struggling like me. But I also want to touch on the fact that obviously some people didn't agree with me, and that's fine. You know, as I said, it was my perspective. And, you know, I had a few comments on the feed from YouTube sort of last time, sort of saying, well, they were my choices. I've chosen a career over family, and actually, you know, don't moan about it, basically. And I would say to those people, you don't know anybody else's circumstances. So whilst it's wonderful that some people had the choice to be stay-at-home mums, if that's what they wanted to do, it doesn't suit everybody. I don't think it would have ever suited me, even if I had the option to do it. Just not my personality. But actually, you know, just please don't snap to judgments about people, about the choices they make, because, you know, you don't know my circumstances for sure. At that time when I had to make that choice, I was a single mum. I didn't know I could have children, so to coin the gynecologist I saw when I was in my early 20s with some sort of problems which I had investigated, he told me something that he could probably never get away with saying now. Well, young lady, go out and get yourself a career, because you're never going to have a family, and maybe eat some more puddings because you're a bit skinny. Those were his words. I've never forgotten them. So I was told that I couldn't have a family. So yes, I had a career, and then suddenly I found I was 6 months pregnant and I was a single mum. And, you know, I had to make those choices to survive for my child. I didn't have an option. I didn't feel I had an option, and I think I made the right choice as well. And, you know, some people have also sort of reflected on the fact that I probably did my children a disservice by working. No, I don't think I did. In fact, I talked to my children. It was Mothering Sunday here in the UK quite recently, and I saw both of my children. We had a lovely time. But I talked to them about it, and I sort of said, you know, what are your thoughts? And now they're adults in particular, they said, actually, Mum, you taught us to be independent. You taught us so many things, and you were always there for us, and we always could rely on you. But you taught us that actually women have many roles. You know, some of our friends' mums stayed at home, some didn't. Some of the women that I know stayed at home actually resented it once their children had left home, because they looked back and thought, well, what about me now? And some women really loved it and really enjoyed it, and their children really benefited from it. But it's not for everybody, is what I'm trying to say. And you know, for those people that made different choices, if you're happy with those choices, that is wonderful. I'm actually happy with the choices I've made. It's just this transition stage I'm struggling with. I would also say that some people, there's some lovely people that take the time to actually email me direct with some thoughts, something probably quite personal that they don't want to pop onto a YouTube comment. But I have had one or two really quite nasty emails too, sort of accusing me of running after money instead of looking after my family, and really doing my children harm. As I said, if that's what you think, that's your choice, but I don't see the value in being really personal and commenting about it. I'm only on here sharing my personal experience, my thoughts about me. And I know from so many of you that a lot of you felt the same way, so I'm confident about it. And I know my videos aren't going to be for everybody, and that's fine, because I watch videos that aren't always for me, and then I just stop watching them. But I don't leave unpleasant comments or send unpleasant emails. So yeah, I'm just trying to be authentic, trying to be me. I think one of the comments that somebody sent me, which was a lovely one, she was really lovely, and she said, oh, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could frog our lives, which is obviously a connection to our knitting. And I thought that was just wonderful. Yeah, it would be wonderful if we could just frog our lives, because, you know, hey, there are things, but you know, those are the things we learn from as well, aren't they? So you know, why should we feel guilty for doing some of the things we had to do because we had no choices in the matter? And I genuinely didn't. I was a single parent suddenly, 3 months to prepare for having a baby, and you know, in those days maternity leave wasn't what it is now. I had to work, otherwise we'd have been in real trouble. And I did, and I studied in the evenings when the kids went to bed, did my degree, did my masters through Open University whilst working full-time. But I did that all once the kids had gone to bed, so that I gave them quality time too. And that is one of the things I don't feel guilty about, is the choices that I've made, really. So I think, yeah, I just wanted to cover that off, because while so many of you have said some wonderful things, some people chose not to be so nice. And you know, if you've got those thoughts, just keep them to yourself. You don't need to share them directly with me, or send me letters to the shop, or send me emails anonymously, because that's really not very nice to read. And I've done my best, and my kids know I've done my best. I'm very comfortable with how my relationship with my children and the choices that I've made. It's just now that because I've had a lifetime of doing that, I just struggle with the guilt of trying to say no and change the habits of a lifetime, and that's all I'm trying to express. And as I said, it's my perspective. So yeah, I just wanted to come on here and say that in these beautiful surroundings with my knitting. I'm knitting away out here. We've had some beautiful weather for the last few days, and it's just been such a pleasure to go out and enjoy the sunshine, knowing that it's going to be shining every day. Don't have to take your coat, can take your knitting. Haven't got my book with me today, but I will maybe bring it out later, probably have an ice cream and a cup of tea and enjoy myself. So welcome back. I hope you found that interesting. As I said, I popped it in as a separate little video. I was just knitting out on the seafront, and I just thought, well, this is a good time to reflect, because I was just thinking back on the responses that I got. I actually, in the last few weeks, I've had a lovely time with family. Both my children I saw over, I didn't see both of them on Mothering Sunday. In the UK, Mothering Sunday was a couple of Sundays ago. I didn't get to see both of them on the day. I went up to Edinburgh and visited my daughter for Mothering Sunday or Mother's Day, and had a lovely time with her and her new dog Rolo. She's got a red fox Labrador, who's 8 months old. I forgot how strong a young dog is. Whereas Bailey Boo, my Bailey Boo, my boxer, which many of you have seen, he turned 11 last week during the week. And we'd left him in kennels for the weekend, and we were worried sick about him. You know, it's a lovely kennels. He's always been fine in there. We had no reason to be concerned, but having had boxer dogs most of my life, I know that, you know, 11's a really good age for a boxer dog, and we were a bit worried about leaving him, so we only left him for 3 nights. And then when we came back, sort of spoke to the kennels and sort of said, oh yeah, he's been fine. But his eyes are a bit going a bit, aren't they? They're a bit cloudy. So we had to make big moves so that he could see us outside of the kennel, so he wasn't startled when we went in. And I think he's getting a bit deaf. Yeah, he is too. He said he smells really, you know, his sense of smell's really good. But I did ask him about, you know, whether we, you know, it's getting to the stage where we shouldn't think about leaving him in kennels and maybe sort of think about alternative arrangements. He said, we're not quite there yet. Weekends would be fine, but any longer period might not be as good. And I think I just think we'd worry too much. So we are thinking of perhaps doing a little road trip next time we go up to Scotland, but driving up and finding Airbnbs. It's about a 9-10 hour drive to get to Edinburgh from where we live. So we thought we could meander up, stop in a couple of Airbnbs on the way, take the dog with us. He's really good in the car. And then do the same coming back. So maybe we didn't have to leave him in kennels. So, and I can just take my knitting. I'm just quite happy to sit in a nice place and little explore, take the dog with us. And yeah, I think we'd both be more comfortable with that. But it was lovely to see my daughter. And yeah, we just, you know, just caught up on everything. And then the weekend before that, because my son couldn't be with me, he came down to Falmouth. And he took me out for a lovely meal, just the 2 of us. It was really nice to have just one-on-one conversations, the 2 of us. So we went out for a really special meal and just spent some quality time together, which was lovely. So I was very lucky mum. I got to see both my kids over a period of time. Got to see my own mum too, which was lovely. So yeah, so it's been, as I said, it's been nice, lots of family time since I last spoke to you, and lots of quality time too, which is really good for me and my well-being. And I have been learning to take a little bit more time during the day to do some of the things that I want to do. So Friday, I'm recording this on Saturday afternoon, but yesterday we actually took some time out and did a nice bike ride to a new, attraction's the wrong thing, a new sort of thing that's been happening in Cornwall, which I'll share a little bit more on a future video as well. So first time on the bike for a few months. I've forgotten how uncomfortable it makes your undercarriage. My husband's a real cyclist. He'll go off for hours and hours cycling. And he's just like, oh, we're only going to do like 16 miles, thinking, but I did it. And the weather was gorgeous. So it was worth it in the end. So what else have I been working on? So one of the other things I have done is I cast on my ganzy, my Cornish ganzy. As I've told you on the flock, we've been doing sort of quite a bit of sort of designing of the Cornish ganzies and what we're all going to knit, and it got to the stage it's like I've just got to cast the thing on. So I haven't got very far, but but at least I've cast it on. So I'm going to hold it up here. So this is the Channel Island cast on here, and I've chosen to do garter stitch with a split on the side. I've just joined it in the round, so I had to knit the front and the back separately. So I want mine to be quite a dense fabric, as I've said, but I want it to be generously sized. I want it to not be too snug. I want to wear it over a couple of layers as an outer garment. So I've opted to create a finished size of 46 inches. My bust size is 38 to 39 inches, depending on how I'm feeling that day. You know what I mean. Excuse me, and what bra I'm wearing. So it's perfect size for me. Originally with my gauge, I thought I was going to do 165 stitches either side, so 330 in total. But I didn't. When I actually did it, I dropped it down to 160 either side, so 320 stitches, because when I measured it, that was the right size for me. And as I say, I'm knitting on 2.25 needles. I will say, and I know lots of people have said this before, is that it is quite hard on your hands. I work for an hour or two on it, and then I have to put it down because the fabric is so dense, and the wool because it's a traditional wool with Romney in it, it's not got a lot of stretch and give, so it's sort of, I just sort of have to take it a little bit of a day at a time, and I think that's actually really good for me, because it's a project that I think, right, I'll pick up, I'll knit, you know, an hour, or I'll do 10 rounds maybe, and then I'm going to put it down again. So it's not one that I'm thinking, oh, I've got to finish that, I've got to get it done for the shop. It will be done in its own time. And I showed you, I don't know if I've still got it here, I don't think I have. I showed you my little crab design. So on this one, I'm going to have my initials and the date here on the front. And then I'm going to put that little crab on the back, just above the hem. And then I'm going to work up to here and then do the design. So I've got the design written on paper. I just need to transfer it onto proper knitting graph paper. But I thought, if I keep thinking, oh, I need to do the design, I'm never going to cast on and actually do the knitting. And I can get up to where I need to do the design before having to actually commit that onto graph paper. So yeah, so I've got to do my 10 rows today, or 10 rounds today. And I think I've got about 4 more rounds before I start putting the initials and the crab in to make it a little bit more interesting as I go around. So my ganzy has been cast on and I'm doing it. I'm still working on my granny shawl that I showed you last time, just a little bit of crochet. Just again, adding as and when I feel like it. That one came up to Scotland with me as a little project. And what else am I working? Oh, one of the other things I wanted to so I can crochet, and I can, you know, I can do granny squares, I can do blankets, I can do quite a lot of the stitches. What I'm not very good at is reading a crochet pattern. So I really wanted to have a go at making a full crochet garment. And one of the members of the Cornish Knitters flock, a lady called Linda, she has been making garments out of crochet, and we've been talking, and she's gonna sort of do a crochet, help me with a crochet along. And it's a very simple pattern, which is the low rider jumper, not this version, I'm going to do just the sleeve version, but the low rider jumper by Iron Lamb. Now the lady Claudine is actually from Cornwall, so we're actually going to meet up in a couple of weeks time as well, which will be great. She comes into the shop, but we're going to have a sit down and have a coffee. But her patterns, if you haven't sort of seen them, her patterns are really lovely crochet designs. They're quite contemporary, you know, without being sort of too short or too exposing too much. They're sort of really nice patterns, and from what I understand, they're quite a good starter pattern. And I didn't want to, because this is my first go at doing one, I didn't want to go for like anything mega expensive. So I purchased King Cowl bamboo cotton, because I'm thinking this is going to be a summer weight yarn. It's in a DK, so it's 50% bamboo viscose, 50% cotton. I quite liked that colour for the summer, and I think I'm going to learn an awful lot by doing this. Apparently you start at the neckline, a bit like a top-down sweater for knitting, and work down. It's just a granny stitch. You know, in the UK it's treble stitches, in the US it will be double crochet stitches. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to, it's not casting on, is it? What do they call it in crochet? It's not casting on, is it? What do they call it? Do they call it? They don't call it hooking on, do they? Maybe it's a setup round. Yeah, setup row. So I'm really looking forward to starting that. And as soon as I've finished this and crocheted a scalloped edge on it, that's going to be on my hook. And I'm going to carry on with my ganzy, and I've got a couple of other sweaters that I've shared with you as well. And I mentioned last time, I am going to be doing a knit along as well, using Zoom rather than maybe YouTube, but available to everybody on YouTube to join along with me. And it will be a sort of summer knit along, and I will tell you more details about that very soon once I've got it all finalised in my head. But it would be lovely if some of you could join me. I'm usually joined by my friends Nikki and Fran, who are both very experienced knitters too, and we just usually have some great chit chat, and it will be lovely. Rather than me just do it on here as YouTube, it would be lovely to do it on Zoom so that people can interact and ask questions in real time rather than typing them in and commenting and then responding. So I really hope that you'll come along and join us for that. It will be really great fun. In a couple of weeks, we've got a retreat happening here in Falmouth. So our first big retreat this year. So we've got 9-10 lovely ladies joining us here in Falmouth for a long weekend of crochet, knitting, good food, good company, sunshine, hopefully, afternoon teas, cake, all the things that you associate with retreats. And if you are interested in our retreats, we are sold out for our next retreat as well in September, but we do have a interested in retreat button on our website, so if you go on and click on that, you will sort of get notified earlier when new retreat places become available. So if you are interested in that, do hop on and have a look. So sorry for the breathlessness, I'm still feeling quite breathless. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little bit when I sort of tried to share my story, and hope those of you that do make choices, you know, they are all our own choices, aren't they? And we make them for a variety of reasons. And whilst, you know, I feel guilty about so many things because I feel I'm spread so thin, and that I can't give enough time to maybe my parents and other things that I would like to, I hope that me sharing my story makes more people comfortable with the decisions they make, and also, you know, the choices they make about, you know, how they face some of the challenges, and accepting that we don't know other people's circumstances. So let's be a bit kinder to each other as well. So thank you for listening along. As I said, please do like, subscribe, share with friends. Let's build this tribe of women and men, because there are some guys on who follow the channel too. So let's build this sort of group of people who just really enjoy their knitting and love talking about sort of life in general. So thank you for listening. Bye.